Hello, this is RL Waltz. We're doing our second video. It's been a while since we done the first one. Went over a lot of stuff, a lot of different saddles from different parts of Eastern Kentucky. And on this video, we're just going to do the Minihan saddle and the Salmon saddle. I think it's they're both important because the Salmon's brothers apprenticed under Minihan. And then they moved to Mount Sterling and started building essentially the same kind of a stitch seat saddle. So I just think these two types of saddles are important to Owensville. And of course, the Minihan saddle is the official saddle of Kentucky now. And so this first photograph is me and my horse Brom. And Brom is modeling a rebuilt Minihan saddle. Beautiful saddle. Matter of fact, this saddle is the first horse that has ever wore this saddle is Brom. So it's the first time it's ever been on a horse right here. So it's a beautiful refurbished, rebuilt Minihan saddle. And then Brom, B-R-A-M is his name, and Brom, you say that, that's in Gaelic, that is Black Raven. That's what his name means. He's three-quarter standard bred, part Tennessee, and so we're ex-Civil War reenactors. So Brom was a really good horse to do battles with, and So I done reenacting from 1992 to 2012, and I had two different horses through them years. And so me and Brom's retired, and Brom, he's modeling saddles, and I'm talking about Minihan saddles. So we'll move on to first photograph, and this photograph is kind of rare. We've seen it in articles and newspapers and things, and we can't make it out what they really look like. So this was taken off an original photograph, and so this would probably be the first time many of y'all have ever seen this photograph in this kind of detail. To the left is Eugene Minihan. To the right, far right, is John R. Salmons. We've compared John R. He was younger here. We compared him to a later photograph in Mount Sterling when he ran a saddle shop there. The man in the middle, we figure he might be Daniel Sheehan. So that's that one. Now we have another one, not as good a quality, and but it shows 5 men, really 6 men. So we have Eugene Minihan to the left, with Ashley Dawson to the next, Henry Scott. Daniel Sheehan is the same man that was in the previous photo. And then Andrew Peterson. If you look right in the corner, bottom right, there's a man hunkered down there peeping around a post. We don't know who he might be. Then we're going to go to the map of of Owensville, where the saddle shop was in the 1880s, 90s, and into the 2000 or 1900. I mean, so right there in the corner we have a ink pen pointing out where the Minihan saddle shop was, and the streets are Jefferson Street there. Going to east was Henry Street, and then Johnson Street was at the end. And so it just gives you an idea where the Minihan saddle shop. Today that's Court Street, and right across Main Street is the courthouse, and that's where the Bath County Museum is today, in the upstairs. And now we're going to do a video of the Minihan saddle shop today, what it looks like, and so we're going to click onto that. We're at the site of the Eugene Minihan saddle shop in Owensville, Kentucky. This saddle is the official saddle of Kentucky. So there've been quite a bit of talk about Eugene Minihan and his saddle shop. We have a picture. There were 5 men standing here with aprons on that worked at it. He had many apprentices. The Salmons brothers that moved to Mount Sterling, Kentucky. John R. and Thomas was apprentices under him. And so this is North Court Street in Owensville, Kentucky. At the time, this would have been Jefferson Street. Down this way would be Henry Street and Johnson Street at the end. So now they've just call this all North Court Street. You can see the top of the courthouse from here. And so he had quite a big business here in the 1880s, 90s, and early 20th century. So this is what it looks like today. Now we're going to go to a photograph of Minihan by himself. And like I said, a lot of people probably might be the first time they've ever seen this clearer picture of Minihan. And of course, in the other video, we talked about so many articles and books and things talking about Minihan being died in 1926, and now we've been to the cemetery. We've pretty much proved that he died in 1918. It's pretty well known now. So that's his stone, his headstone in Fort Mitchell, Kentucky, and then that's just a real good picture of you can see the face. It's like looking into the face of Eugene Minihan. How many people has got to do that, And so we're going to talk about 4 different patterns of Minihan saddles, and plus a couple stamps, different stamps on them. And some saddles could be ID'd by just looking at the pattern. And we talked about in the other video a lot of different saddle builders, and some of them are just not stamped. And but they all might have stayed with a certain type of pattern. And so you can just, a lot of people that knows can look at it and say, that's this saddle or that saddle. But I'm not going to get into the other saddles. It's going to be Minihan and Salmon saddle for this talk. So we're going to go to the first photograph. Is it's out of a newspaper. It was done in 1993. They were talking to Harry Inscoe. Harry Inscoe was a saddle builder that had a shop in Lexington, Kentucky for about 35 years. Had built many of these saddles. So in the Bath County News Outlook in 1993, you might be able to see this pattern on this saddle. So we, on this particular saddle, we don't have a stamped version of this saddle, but we have a rebuilt one. So in the next photo, you're going to see the pattern, the same pattern was in the newspaper article. And this is a rebuilt Eugene Minihan saddle with this same pattern. And so we think that this pattern is a Eugene Minihan. The saddle was supposed to be a Minihan saddle that was rebuilt by a man up in Dayton, Ohio called Vernon Ward. So this is a Eugene Minihan pattern on a brand new saddle. It's kind of interesting. This saddle had been in somebody's game room for about 18 years, and it had never been put on a horse. By the time the saddle got built, and it took the saddler a long time to build it, that they had got rid of horses, and so they had a saddle, and I ended up with a really nice saddle. Never been on a horse, with a Eugene Minihan pattern that's not very common pattern, but it was shown in that newspaper in 1993, same pattern, and so that's a really nice saddle. Okay, then we're going to go to another saddle. It's an old saddle that belongs to me. It's a spring seat Minihan, and this has got like 2 big wings on it. So this is more of a common saddle, this design. And so it is a spring seat, and it is a Eugene Minihan stamped saddle. And further on, we'll see the a Salmon saddle with this same pattern. So when the Salmons brothers went down the street from Owensville after working for Minihan, they opened their own saddle shop, and we're going to have a video on that a little bit later here. Okay, so that one's more common. You'll see it more often. Okay, now the next pattern is a little more rare, and I've only seen this on a couple saddles, and they're very old saddles, very worn saddles, and so that is another pattern on a stamped Eugene Minihan. It's the third pattern for the Eugene Minihan saddle that we found. Then we're going to go to the next pattern, and this is a unusually different pattern. This is only the fourth pattern that I found that like this, and so it's a stamped Eugene Minihan saddle. So that's 4. Now we're going to go to the stamp on this saddle, and this is the stamp of the Eugene Minihan saddle on most of them. One thing different in the stamp, and we've seen it in a couple saddles, is if you'll notice Minihan's, the name Minihan is upside down. And so there's been a couple saddles that's had that stamp upside down. Why that is, I don't know. If he just did it purposely or accidentally turned his name upside down. Might have been stamped with maybe 3 parts of a stamp or whatever. So that's we've seen it in a couple saddles, so that's something that can be out there. Okay, we're going to go to another stamp, and this stamp is a horizontal stamp, Eugene Minihan, Owensville, Kentucky, and this is on a side saddle. So I've seen 2 side saddles that have this different stamp, and it's a horizontal stamp on it. So there is the stamp of a side saddle, the ones I've seen. And then here's a beautiful saddle pattern on a side saddle, and so it's just a real nice saddle. It looks really nice, and so that's just to give you an idea what you might see in a side saddle out there. Okay, now we're going to go to a clip, and this clip is going to be on the Salmon Saddle Shop in Mount Sterling, Kentucky, and so I'll be speaking to you on that right now. We're at the site of the Salmon's Saddle Shop in Mount Sterling, Kentucky. This is the original site of the saddle shop, John R. Salmons and his brother Thomas Salmons. And this building, the windows are pretty much the same. We have an original photo in 1900 of John R. Salmons standing right here with a sign that says John R. Salmons Saddle Shop. And so we're right straight across from the courthouse here in Mount Sterling, Kentucky. And these Salmons brothers apprenticed under Eugene Minihan, that had the saddle shop in Owensville, Kentucky. And they moved down here and started their own saddle shop and started building essentially the same saddle that they've been building for Minihan in Owensville, Kentucky. Okay, the next photograph we're going to look at is the saddle shop that we just seen in the video, talking about the Salmons on Salmons Brothers shop, right across from the courthouse on North Maysville Street in Mount Sterling, Kentucky. And you can see these similarities of the window, the way they set up, some of the decoration on the top there, that's still there today, and it's a lawyer's office. And so he was standing right where I was standing, and it's marked John R. Salmon's Saddle and Harness Shop, and so that's John R. Salmon's. That is the man in the photograph with three men in front of the Minihan Saddle Shop. That's the man to the right, and he's an older man here, and this is around 1900. Still working on some of the research on some of the dates and things, but that's that. Okay, then we're going to move on to show you a Thomas Salmon saddle. And this saddle has got the wings that's so typical in a lot of saddles. And so this kind of wing pattern was exactly what they were building in Owensville, Kentucky. And so it's just a good example of that, and how the Salmons brothers came to Mount Sterling and was building essentially the same saddle that they were building in Owensville. And so that's a nice example of that. We're going to move on to another saddle that was a really good find here last year. So it is a John R. Salmon saddle. And this was found up around Corinth, Kentucky, and it's just a completely different design. I've never seen a design on a salmon saddle with this design, and it's in really nice shape. It's got 4 stamps on it. John R. Salmon's, really clear, and so that's a John R. Salmon's pattern there, and then we're going to move on to the stamp. You can see how clear the stamp is. John R. Salmon's, Mount Sterling, Kentucky, and so that's that. And then we're going to go. We're going to wind this up, and I just want to. We're still researching these Minihan saddles. Been doing this. I've been retired 5 years now, and we've been working on a lot of different things to do with it, and there's still stuff out there, more research on it. That I just thought these patterns were a really interesting thing, and when you go out and you see these patterns, we know there's at least four plus a side saddle pattern, and also I just wanted to put in some of the Bath County Museum on Main Street. Go see it. It's upstairs, the old courthouse. They're open from 10 to 2 on Saturdays. And then also, I have a couple military saddles in the Round County Veterans Museum on 2nd Street in Moorhead, Kentucky. And they've just revamped that museum, and it's really nice. It's something to see. And as soon as you walk in the door, you'll see 2 military saddles that I've worked on, and one I own. And then also be sure to check out the Round County Railroad Museum on 1st Street in Moorhead, Kentucky, and you'll see a couple saddles there that are stitched seat saddles. And then the Montgomery County Historical Museum on Broadway, Mount Sterling, right there by the courthouse, is another place I encourage everybody to go and visit. And this will be it for this segment, and I appreciate it. Thank you.